Alright, so this video is just going to show you some really simple ideas for getting started with those of you who are creating an illustration and don't have so much experience with turning that illustration into something that has moving elements. So I'm just going to use this little really simple drawing I did based on one of my students' ideas, and I just sort of drew this little character with a hat on his head. He's got a person playing a guitar under his hat. He's got one layer for each arm. He's got a layer that's just blinks here. So it's just like that kind of thing over the top. So when I turn that layer on and off, I get a blink. He's got like a little eyes layer, so I can move his pupils around like that. He's got one layer for each eyebrow. He's got a mouth that I can move. And the rest of him is just sitting all on the one layer. This is quite simple. You could obviously take this further and break the arms up into two layers. So you could bend them in the middle and the legs, but I'm just going to show you something really simple here. So I'm going to import this guy into After Effects. So in my project folder here, you'll see that I've got within this project, I've called this project Importing Layered Illustration Files. I've put my illustration in the Photoshop folder, and I've got an After Effects folder. So let's go to After Effects, and I'm just going to import him. File import as a composition retain layer sizes. Yeah, that one. When I import that and double click on the composition it creates, there is my illustration exactly the same as I saw it in Photoshop. There are all the layers with the same names and everything. So the first thing I want to do is, of course, if I want to rotate this arm, say that arm there, then I want to put let's solo that layer. I want to put the anchor point right on the shoulder, don't I, with the pan behind tool. So the move tool allows me to move the layer, but this pan behind tool, I can relocate that anchor point so that I can grab the rotation tool and now add keyframes to that. So I could go to rotation now on that arm and go there. The rotation looks like this. Moving forward, it looks like that, right? Okay, really simple. The eyes, what if I wanted to animate his eyes? I'm just going to turn that blink layer off, grab the eyes layer. Again, I want to put the pan behind tool, get that anchor point right there in the middle of the eyes so I can grab them easily. P for position, and I'm just going to animate the position of those eyes over time. And he's going to look from one side to the other. Maybe he does it a beat later than the arm, so move them later. It's very simple, and I want you to practice that. I think it's a really good place to start. Just get a few simple layers and just see what you can do with a blink's eye movement, a little bit of subtle eyebrow movement. I think you'll find you can add a lot of expression and a lot of feeling to a moving image without doing very much animation at all. I'll show you this one I just did before I prepared this tute. Here I've done, let's just have a look at it. I've got all the keyframes open here. So he just does a little sigh and his arm waves a little bit. He blinks and looks to the side, looks down, looks up again. He's going to sort of change his expression here a little bit. It's not playing in real time, it's just RAM previewing. So let's watch it again in real time. It's a little sigh, looks to the side, changes his expression a little bit, rocks a little bit back and forth. And I just had fun doing that. It only took me 5 minutes. And let's have a look at all these keyframes. One thing I did to create the sort of full body movement here, that little up and down sigh and this little back and forth here, I used a null. So the null, everything is parented either directly or indirectly to this null. So the hat is parented to the body, the arm, the eyebrow, they're all parented to the body, and the body is parented to the null. So when I move that null, and I've got the anchor point for the null right down there at the bottom, so when I rotate that null, I sort of rotate the whole body from that sort of feet anchor point, and I can sort of scale it up and squish it down to give them a little bit of a kind of expression like that. It's quite fun. See it there. It's just all I've got on that null is scale and rotation keyframes. Bit of easy ease. On the hat, all I've got, I think, is, let's hit the U key. All I've done is a bit of position and rotation here when he moved from side to, when he did a little sigh, the hat just very subtly came up and settled down again. The arms, I've just got a bit of rotation keyframes. They just sort of lift up and they sort of come down here, and didn't spend much time on that at all. The eyebrows, again, they've got a little bit of position and a little bit of rotation. Again, I've put the anchor points right on those eyebrows so that I can see them clearly. Let's look at that one. This comes up, comes down again. Really dead simple. The blink, all it has on it is some opacity keyframes. It goes from 0 opacity to 100% opacity. Stays at 100%. Here. See, that keyframe is 0. That keyframe is 100. And it stays at 100 and goes back to 0 on one frame. So you get a nice little blink effect. And here I've just copied and pasted those blink keyframes to create 2 more blinks. The eyes, all they have is position. I didn't spend very little time on that. I just moved them from side to side. I think when you're a first-time animator, a lot of people make the mistake with eyes of having them drift slowly from position to position. Whereas people's eyes really, and in animation, they move pretty quickly from side to side. So you really don't need a lot of keyframes in between eye movement. You see, those are my movements there. And I actually use the blinks. Often people blink and then move their eyes. It looks quite cool if you sort of hide the movement of the eyes under a blink. You'll get quite a cool effect. But you see that little movement there is only that many keyframes. It's not very long at all. Alright, what else have I got? I've got a tiny bit of movement on the mouth. I just sort of lifted it from up to down. Oh, there's a keyframe on the anchor point. That's a mistake. So it's really just position animation on the mouth. I just sort of moved it down a bit. It's a bit of a grumpy expression. I didn't do any animation on the character under the hat. The body, I didn't do any animation on that. I just used the null to animate everything. So have a play with something like that. See if you can just get a really nice expression using very simple things. You don't have to be super complex and sort of design characters that turn in 3 dimensions, because that's very difficult. A good place to start is just using really simple 2D concepts, just scale, position, rotation, opacity. See if you can really master those, animating with those parameters, and then other things in After Effects will be much easier to learn after that.